Much for joining us today, Sally, all the way from Montreal. How are you?
What? I'm so good. Thank you for having me.
So
As I was telling you earlier, all of your content resonates with me, and I'm like, she's so much like me. We have the same viewpoints on everything.
And it's so crazy because honestly, like, I got my viewpoints. I didn't really follow. I followed everybody, and then my viewpoints were just like an amalgamation of everybody that I followed and all the people I learned from. So it's kind of cool that you also have like the same stuff.
It is.
Do you know why?
Who would you say was like the number one person that you were like following
Matt
the most,
Hussey.
or that you resonated with?
Do you hate Matt Hussey?
No, me too. I was gonna say he was my number one too.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, that makes so much sense. That makes so much sense.
Yeah, Matt Hussey is king.
Too funny.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Wholeheartedly.
And I once went down like the avenue of like feminine energy, masculine energy, like pickup artistry and all that. I'm like, ugh.
Girl, we are like the same person. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
Same. Yeah. And I couldn't really resonate with it on that level.
No.
You know, because I feel like we're such a mix of the feminine and masculine. Everybody is.
Yeah.
You know, it's like no matter what gender.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I was like really having difficulty with that piece. And I was like, no. I think it can work both ways. I mean, there are some things to be true. But generally speaking, yeah, that's hilarious.
And I was trying to teach on it once too. And I was like, I'm not believing a single word that's coming out of my mouth. Like, what am I doing? You know, it's the weirdest thing.
Not in alignment
at all.
Like, yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your journey, about how you got into coaching and how it's kind of progressed.
Sure. Yeah. So my story is kind of interesting, I think, in the sense that I actually started by online dating myself. So back in 2001, I want to say.
Oh my gosh, it was a different world.
Dude, it was so taboo to be online dating that my boyfriend at the time, we met online through Lavalife. Do you remember Lavalife? And it was big back then. It was the only one pretty much that was like out there. Mm-hmm. And I remember we had said, okay, let's say that we met at a bar, because that was less embarrassing than saying you met online dating. So I'd have to say that like most of my relationships did start from online dating. And I just ended up writing an ebook on it, just almost as a farce, but just to like share it with my girlfriends, like, okay, here are the do's and don'ts. And like, I made it into like this fun little designed ebook, and I gave it to them, and they were like, Sally, you should like be teaching people this, like this, you could like be a coach. Like, you know, you've always been a confidant in our group of friends. Like, why not do that for a living? And I was like, is that a thing? Like, mm-hmm. is that even a thing? Mm-hmm. So yeah, I put myself out there, and I started with the ebook. I started sharing it, using it kind of as like a lead magnet. And yeah, I started getting customers and clients. And then I came up with my online dating program that kind of followed the ideas and concepts of ebook and just expanded on those. And that's how it kind of got the ball rolling, really. So
now I have to ask, okay, so that ebook was written in 2001, 2002.
Well, it was written like, let's say 2010, maybe.
Oh, okay.
So it was years after I'd done it. Yeah. Yeah.
So what was the shift? And then you started doing your course on online dating. What was the biggest shift in what you had to teach based on the shift of the online dating culture?
What do you mean? Sorry, I don't understand the question.
So like to online date in 2001 is different because not everybody's on there. Yes. Like people were investing, probably also close in 2010, right? Now everybody's on there. There's people on there that are just like kicking the tires. So did you adjust your like training at all based on the change of culture?
To be honest with you, I think I'd gone through that culture so progressively that I don't even know where the old ends and the new, you know what I mean? Like, yes. I just don't even know. It was just mashed together. So for me, it was kind of like looking back and reflecting back on those last 9-10 years and just saying, okay, how did I get to this point of being in a long-term happy relationship, finding like good quality men and people? How did I get to that point? Mm-hmm. And so I just kind of took all of those snippets and then compiled them into that program. And the coolest thing I think is when you launch it for the first time and you're and for me, I always launch in like a beta. I call it like a beta phase. So I just test it with a bunch of ladies, and I'm like, okay, so I'm just looking. This is my ideal client. This is my ideal audience. Now, like, do it and tell me how it goes.
Yeah.
And it gets super exciting, right, when they start reaching out and saying like, oh my god, it's working, But I can't say that there's a particular trend or a particular thing that changed. It was just going from very taboo to now everybody, like it was accessible to everybody and everybody was doing it. So if anything, it just became a lot easier and more accessible.
Okay. I also want to scoot over into how we met, which is on TikTok. So what we did is I saw one of your videos, which was the first one ever. And then I saw of yours, and right away you were talking, it was saying how being the approacher does not mean you're the pursuer. And then I did a little stitch at the end talking about like my view on it. Tell me about your view on it.
Yeah, I think, women have traditionally been told not to approach men, right? And they get that concept confused because they think like, okay, if you're too aggressive with men don't like that. It comes off too strong. You should be like standing back and very feminine. Again, it comes back to this feminine, masculine energy. And I want to kind of break that habit, that nasty habit, and really give more control and power to women to make the decision on who they choose. Because I think oftentimes, especially with online dating, they're like passive participants.
Yes.
You know what I mean? They're not like active participants where they're actually going and filtering and seeing which ones they like and then acting accordingly, like reaching out to them because they feel like, no, he should be messaging me. But messaging and approaching somebody is very different than taking the ball and running with it, right?
Yes.
And actively pursuing somebody over a period of time. And so that's why I wanted to educate people and provide that clarity because I think that's so important, especially nowadays. Like I feel like women should take more control of their lives. And again, going back to Matt Hussey, when he teaches, it's so true. Like back in the day, the women did the choosing. They did the approaching and choosing, but just in a very subtle manner, right? Like
the white handkerchief.
Exactly. They just dropped their little handkerchief and, oh, sorry, right? But
and he's all like, oh, I picked you. And she's like, I picked you. Let's not even play.
Oh, no, okay. Yeah, that's totally it. But that's totally it, right? And so when you look at it from a different perspective, I think it brings like aha moments for women. They're like, oh, okay, now I see the distinction between like being the approacher and pursuing somebody. Two totally different things.
Absolutely. And I love that you said about online dating too, because when we adopt that in the online dating culture, just the same as if it was in person, the men that are actually approaching you in person, like a lot of the time women are like, oh, I only end up with assholes. It's because it's the loudest dude that is really good approaching and he approached 30 women prior.
So true.
Right?
It's so 100% true.
And so a lot of the messages that you're getting online as well are those dudes that are just mass messaging everybody.
Yeah.
And so,
hey girl, what's up?
Yeah. So if you're a little bit proactive and you choose who you want and you send a message, I don't know why they're like, oh, that's just like, that's too much. And I'm just like, no, girl, like you gotta pick them.
And the stats actually back that as well.
Really?
So if like, so men there's like 90%, I think it was match.com. I shouldn't quote that. But anyways, one of the big online dating platforms, they did a whole survey and they said that 90% of men love it when women make the first move. So, this whole perception of men don't like it, men are put off by it, men find you too like coming on strong or aggressive or masculine. It's just not true. Like the facts is that it puts you at a distinct advantage because most of the women on top of that are the ones that are the wallflowers that are holding back, that are not actively pursuing. So it just puts you at a distinct advantage to actually like reach out to the men that you're interested in, because 9 times out of 10, it's women don't do that. And the stats back that as well, that women don't typically make the first move, even in online dating. So, if you're a high value, high quality, wonderful woman and you're going out and doing that, it just puts you in the front lane. And
I like to think of it too as almost like a bridge. And this is what I said in the video is like when I'm out for coffee and I tell people like basically network like a matchmaker. Because when I'm out for coffee and I'm overhearing these two guys at the table next to me having a great conversation, I'll lean over and put my business card on their table and be like, if you guys need a running mate in life, I'm a matchmaker. Like, give me a call. And like, It's just the tiniest little bridge. Do you know what I mean? And I just go back to my stuff. And then, 10 minutes later, they're like, so like you're a matchmaker? You know what I mean? So you could do something similar in your dating life. And then like, what's the Wi-Fi password? How are you doing today? I really like your jeans. And then go back to what you're doing. And if he's like, well, she's actually kind of cute.
And that's in general, like in life in general, it's so true. And I think that's the part that's missing for people as well, is that it's so easy to hide behind a keyboard too. Yes. But to do it in real life is next level. Yeah. So like putting online dating aside and doing it in real life, it's so intimidating for women. They're like, well, what do I say? I'm like, if you saw somebody in the grocery, it's like, oh, where did you get that? Which aisle is that in? Yeah. It's, oh, that looked good, but I never tried it. Is it good? Like just opening the door and seeing if he walks through. It's like really that simple. And like you said, you're not really invested. You can like literally walk away from the conversation with your dignity, right? Yeah. Your pride. It doesn't have to be like an embarrassing situation.
It's a human
interaction.
You're
not really getting rejected.
Totally.
Exactly.
And like practice it on old ladies and like, like ugly people.
100%.
Or I don't know. Yes. So you can do it to anybody. Perfect. Exactly.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. So I was looking through your TikTok and you said that you had one insane viral video. And it was the SOS video, right?
Yeah.
So do you want to just explain to the listeners what was said on the video and why you think it went so crazy?
So I'll tell you the backstory about how this came about. So yes. I just got a new phone and I was looking through some of the new features and then I saw emergency SOS. Oh, what's that? So I'm looking through it and I'm like, oh my God, my phone can call emergency services like 911 or wherever you are in the world, whatever your emergency number is, if you press the buttons rapidly on the side of your phone. I had no idea about this function. And I was like, I wonder how many other people know about this. So I was like, I'm going to make a video because I think this is applicable to like everybody in general, but single women, especially if you're out on a date or something, you never know the situation, but we tend to be a little bit more vulnerable, let's say. And I thought this would be useful information. So I shared that information and it just took off and it's still going like gangbusters.
Is it?
And actually, I think, it is. I think it's at like 3.2 million now.
Wow.
It's insane.
Wow.
Yeah, it's insane. Yeah. And so I think the majority of the people who have subscribed to me or have followed me have been as a result of that video. And then just kind of seeing the other videos that I've posted that are kind of relevant to a certain extent. To that video, but yeah, it's interesting.
So it's like an angel shot, basically.
That one. Pardon?
It's like an angel shot, like walking up to the bar and saying, "Hey, I'll get an angel shot." Have you heard of that?
No, I've never. I don't
really.
Know
Oh my gosh! So okay, the angel shot.
Inform me, girl.
So all the bartenders in the world know this. I was in the service industry, so we all know what the angel shot is. And basically, the angel shot is this program. I don't know how it was started, but basically, a woman, if she's on a date and she's having a hard time, she can walk up to the bar and say, "I'll get an angel shot." What the bartender then does is call the cops and escort her into the bathroom and or escort her somewhere to get her away from the date, and then. Yeah. So it's like an incognito way of like saying, hey, I'm in trouble without being like, I'm in trouble. They're just like, can I get an angel shot, please?
This is brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's similar.
Did you do a video on this?
No, but you can. Go for it.
Girl, you should be doing this. You should be doing this video. Girl.
No, you take the angel shot video. You do it. It's yours.
No, girl, I'm telling you, you could go TikTok viral with that.
The most I've gotten is 100,000 views. That's the most I've gotten.
But you know what though? It's those videos that you don't think are going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? It's so funny. And like, it's the one that you think everybody knows this. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't know it was like emergency SOS. Like, I didn't know about it. If I didn't know about it, does anybody else?
Yes.
So it's these silly things, right? That can make a huge difference.
Now, did you find
sometimes one video?
Did you find that your TikTok following and like how well it did it really bring in a lot of clientele into your system?
Yeah. So it kind of, okay. So yes, I ended up opening up a Facebook group and just asked them to join that. So we have over 500 women in that group.
Amazing.
And I think I started it in late December, something like that. So it grew quite quickly. And I did my beta program, my beta online dating program back before Christmas. And then I did it again in beginning of January and filled that group.
Oh, wow.
And then I also got a one-on-one coaching client for the month. So yeah, it did kind of just happen. And isn't that just amazing when it's just like, you don't feel like you're really like, there's no hard sell, right? Like, it's just like, here I am, world, take me or leave me. Yeah. It's like such a serene, great place to be, you know? And it feels like, right. And you can just be authentically yourself and know that, okay, no matter what, I mean, if my message resonates with you, great. If it doesn't, find the other dating coach that you resonate with, right? Because there's so many of us. Yeah. There's so many of us. But it is cool that, you know, that these silly little videos, the things that you think are so common that everybody knows or should know, that they can make such a great impact in somebody's life.
Yeah. And then they come to you without any skepticism. So I remember before TikTok, like they needed help, but they didn't know where to go. And someone said Geneva, like go to Geneva, go to GE Matchmaking or whatever. And they'd show up and they're like skeptical and they're like, what are your credentials? Now they know who I am. They already love me and they're like, teach me. You know, it's so much easier.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. But it's a know, like, and trust factor. We always talk about this in marketing too. It's like, you know, when you get to understand somebody and then you start liking them and then you build that trust, it's over. Like, it's done. Like they're in, right? Yeah. They're your people. Yeah. So it's so true.
And that's 100%. What we want is we want our people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I've heard of so many nightmares of like coaches who just signed on the wrong clients or there's such a discord there and the amount of frustration and not for me.
Yeah, we've all done that starting a business. We're like, yeah, sure.
Yep. Yeah, I'll take you.
Yeah. Now I'm a lot more discerning now. Yeah. So those horror stories you're talking about, I've definitely had those.
Yeah, me too. Me too, girl. Me too.
So I kind of want to pick a couple of my favorite of your videos and just kind of talk about the topic. I think we agree on everything, but maybe we could find something we don't agree on, but we'll see.
Let's try, shall we?
One thing that I loved, and I haven't actually ever thought of it because I never experienced it. So tell us about this. You said, and actually I was doing training on the previous episode that's coming out on Monday or the week before this about red flags. And you had said that probably the biggest red flag, correct me if I'm wrong, is jealousy. Yeah. So tell me your mindset around that, because a lot of people think jealousy is a compliment. Like they care about me, you know, when they see jealousy, they're like, oh, they truly care about me. Tell me what your thoughts are. I have no opinion. So I want you to teach me.
Okay. You want me to convince you? Teach me. I know jealousy scares the F out of me. It really does. Cause it's not like it's the root, like the root of that is insecurity. And then the result of that is control. So when you look at jealousy, it's just like, oh, he's jealous. He must really like me. Well, no, he's insecure about himself, about losing you. So that's really where it stems from. So that in and of itself is a big flaw, is a big issue that you have to deal with. And then the results of that, the symptoms of that can oftentimes and usually is controlling behavior and possessive behavior. And that's when it can get really scary. And, you know, you hear all these stories about domestic violence and all of that. And honestly, I think that's where it stems from. It stems from insecurity and wanting to possess or control somebody as an object rather than a partner or a person. So that's why it terrifies me whenever somebody starts saying like, oh, you know, he was jealous or he's asking who I was talking to. And, you know, but it must mean that he really likes me. And I'm like, it's not about you, it's about him. And that's the part that's hard to distinguish, right? Yes. Is it's not about, they take it as a personal compliment, but it has nothing to do with the woman and everything to do with the man and how he feels about himself.
Are there any like early flags or early signals that people can keep an eye on? Like all of this starts slow too. Like jealousy will start just tiny and then it'll grow. And before you know it, you're like, well, how did that happen? So what are your thoughts on that? Like early recognition.
Well, you know, it just takes time. Yeah. Honestly.
And experience.
Exactly. And I always say like, live with people for seasons, like for 4 seasons before you make your decision on them. Like, and when I mean that, I mean like quite literally like a year, give yourself a good year to get to know somebody before you really like make an investment in your future, before you get engaged, before you get married, whatever. See them in different, when I say seasons, I also mean see them in different lights, see them in different situations, how they react. And things can often be misconstrued as well. Like, for example, is it jealous for somebody to say like, oh, who is that person? Like, I see you talking to them often. I'm just curious. That's curiosity. And like, I want to understand what their relationship is and how it pertains to mine. Like maybe let's say we're just early dating with somebody, and they don't know where they stand with you, and you're dating somebody else, and you've been transparent about that. Well, there could be a little bit of like okay, but I would like you to myself. You know what I mean? There's a little tinge of like, well, I want you to myself. That's different than jealousy of like, no, like I want to control you, you're mine. You know what I mean? That's a different sentiment. So, and that just really just demonstrates and shows itself over time. Yeah. So that's why I tell people, like, don't always jump to conclusions, give it time. But once it becomes like, okay, I can identify what this is, it's very clear that this is what this is, run for the hills. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. But sometimes it does take a little bit longer for it to demonstrate itself, to like really, you know, become evidence, I guess you could say.
Yeah, absolutely.
And narcissists are really good at hiding that.
Actually, I haven't talked about narcissists yet on the podcast. So let's actually take a minute and talk about narcissism. And because I've actually had a couple clients lately, and I've been doing research on, because there's a lot of support groups out there for those who have had a relationship with a narcissist, because it's traumatic. Because you come out the other end not knowing who you are, not knowing what your thoughts are. And, you know, so they have some really good resources out there that help you kind of support you through getting out of a narcissistic relationship. But let's talk about, because I never like to throw around the word narcissist, but let's talk about some narcissistic qualities or characteristics that we can see early on that we should keep an eye out for.
Yeah, there's so many different types, but I would say the hardest thing with narcissists, I think, is the fact that they are perfectly perfect in the beginning. You know what I mean? Like, they are charming and they're over the top and they're romantic and everything is so grandiose, so that you just get like wrapped up in that and consumed by that and fall deeply, madly in love with them, only to have like the rug ripped from underneath you. So I think that's what makes it so difficult for women, is because, again, it takes so long for them to really reveal themselves that it comes as a bit of a shock. And I think when you go through that when you see that kind of transformation happen, you kind of like retreat, kind of go into yourself and go, okay, like, it must be me. Like, something changed. It must be me. You start questioning yourself. The gaslighting happens. All of a sudden it becomes, you're the issue. And I think that's why it's so traumatic for people when they actually leave relationships like that, because for so long you were told and you felt and really believed that you were in the wrong, that you were crazy, that it was all you. It was all a figment of your imagination. There's nothing wrong with him. Like, it really is damaging, I think, for that reason, just because it's so great in the beginning, you know, and then to have that happen, to see that transformation happen, is so confusing for women. And I don't know if it's just become like a hot new trendy term, because I feel like everybody says, oh, my ex was a narcissist, or if this has really become like a thing, a generational thing of maybe how we're raising our boys. Like, I don't even know. Like, what's your perspective on it? I'm curious.
Well, actually, it's a newer term because it's actually a new study in psychology. So basically it was never studied previous to now. So this is a term that was created only recently because it's only recently been studied. So narcissists always existed. They just did not have a term. They were just assholes.
A label.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Like, you snuck that in there.
They're just assholes. But what I've been thinking about, and like, I'm obsessed with coaching and all of this, what I've been thinking about with narcissism, which is really interesting, and I haven't come to like a full thought circle, but there's these characteristics and these narcissistic trends that people do, and like they perform a certain way. This was never taught to them. This is all psychology in their head of reactions to how to react with another individual. So first of all, narcissists attract empathetic women.
Yes.
So for example, if a narcissist were to love bomb somebody who has an avoidant attachment style, she'd be like, screw you, like, get out of my face, you're a weirdo. Do you know what I mean? So there's those that have to actually keep sharper attention for narcissism, and they are the empathetic ones. They're the ones that want to nurture and heal and love and care for. and love. So if you have those tendencies, it's actually a smart idea to research what a narcissist is and what those characteristics are so that you can keep an eye out for it. Because there's a lot of women out there that would just tell them to go, they're like, they're a weirdo, go fly a kite, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
But like these things aren't taught to these men, and there's women narcissists as well, but the studies show that there's a lot more men narcissists than there are women, which might go back onto your topic, which I'm not sure of. Is it the culture?
Yeah.
Because why isn't more men? Why isn't more men? Why isn't more men?
Right? It's like the big question mark.
Yeah. Gosh, we just like made each other speechless.
Yeah, I know. That's a first for me.
That's a first for me too. But I was like,
I just got consumed in my...
Yeah, these characteristics, and that's what I've been thinking about, like these are not taught. These are just literal people's reactions to different situations, to different people, which is what fascinates me and what I want to learn more about it is because these people aren't any smarter or dumber than the person next to them. They just have this. So, yeah, very interesting. Not an expert.
And I think that's the hard part too for the women who have been victimized is like when you look at it later, you're like, what was that?
Yeah.
Like, I thought I was smarter than that. I thought I was, you know what I mean? Like, it's shocking and it makes you angry. And so it's like, you're grieving this relationship, but then you're also grieving the past you and trying to understand and come to grips with how you allowed this to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've been in that situation before. I did date a narcissist, what I would label as a narcissist. And afterwards I was like, I don't even recognize that girl anymore. Like, what the was that? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was kind of one of those moments where I was almost angry at myself. Like, how could I let that happen?
Yeah.
And I think oftentimes too, when in general, I mean, if we look at society in general, they victim blame, right? Like, why didn't you see the signs? Why didn't you let him treat you that way? Why didn't you get out? Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so we do it enough to ourselves. So to have other people point the finger like that is just not helpful.
I actually dated a narcissist too. And I think I came out a lot stronger, which is interesting because I think a lot of people
we all do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we do. But I think in the moment though, it's hard. It's hard. At least for me, it was. It took me some time to heal.
It took me about a year.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
A good year.
Yeah. And then the people that I was meeting after, they were amazing people.
Yeah.
Right.
But you didn't fall into that pattern. And see, that's the thing is that people will either reject that experience and never repeat it, or they'll fall into the same trap again.
That's so true. And what's the difference?
Right?
The difference is personal growth and just like reflecting back and taking the time.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Girl, we're going to change the world. Did you know that?
We are.
We're going to change the world. Yeah.
High five.
High five. Virtual high five. I'm coming to Montreal, girl, soon. We're going to go. We're going to hit up something in Montreal. I've never been to Montreal. I have to go.
You haven't?
No.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. It's amazing. I actually lived in Halifax for summer.
Did you? What'd you think?
I did.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, the people. They're all like you.
Yeah.
So kind and like welcoming and yeah, I loved it.
Well, it must have stuck with you a little bit because you got like a really great energy. I could tell right away when I first messaged you. You're like, oh my gosh, you're the greatest. And I was like, I like adore this person.
I felt the same way about you. As soon as you reached out, I was like, oh my God. Oh my God.
We're fangirling over. Okay, we'll continue on. Sorry, guys. Sorry you had to experience that.
Sorry.
Let's talk about another video that I love of yours, high value. Okay, so let's talk about being high value, the difference between being a high value woman and being entitled. Tell me your thoughts on that.
I feel like there's so many women, especially in the online dating realm. Like, it kills me sometimes. It kills me the behavior and the sense of entitlement that they feel. Like, I remember I once had a client of mine who was like, absolutely no way I'm going out with a man who does not take me out to the fanciest restaurant on a first date. And I'm like, okay, but like, Karen, because everybody's Karen now.
Her name is Karen, for sure.
Karen, he doesn't know you from like a hole in the wall.
Yeah.
So like, what makes you think that he thinks you're valuable enough to invest all that money and time and energy when he doesn't even know who you are?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is what I'm talking about when I say entitled versus high value. High value is saying, listen, we're going to get to know each other. And I'm going to demonstrate my value through the boundaries that I set, by how I treat you, most importantly, how I treat myself in this relationship. And that's how you demonstrate high value. And it's not by raising your tone. It's not by giving an attitude. It's just firmly standing in your beliefs and living your truth, living an authentic life, and being willing to stand up for yourself and to voice your own opinions without being nasty. Like, say it's all in the delivery. You can be like the biggest bitch in the world, but do it in the nicest way possible, you know?
Yeah.
It's always in the delivery of the message. And so I think people lose that, you know, they just think, okay, people should know that I'm worthy. People should know that I'm high value, but it's a lifestyle. It's like, it's who you are. It's your confidence. It's how you stand in yourself, you know?
And I think the most high value, confident women don't actually have to say what they like. They need to have the conversations, but they don't have to scream it from the rooftops. They just exist, and that's who they are. And people are like, oh, wow.
That's it. It's like the guys who are like, I'm a really nice guy.
The nice guy trope.
Oh.
Love it. Let's talk about the nice guy trope. Let's do this.
Yeah, let's go there. Let's go there.
I think the nice guy trope, or like just the nice guy, he's the sneakiest motherfucker, let me tell you.
He is the sneakiest little mofo. I agree.
Yeah.
Those little bastards.
Look at you not swearing and then doing a little B word in there.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
You're like, am I allowed to do that?
I'm like, can I swear on here? I didn't even ask. Oh.
I already swore like 3 times, Sally.
Yeah, sorry.
But yeah, I really think like it's the nice guy thing, like saying I'm a nice guy, guys don't like nice guys, all this stuff. Because we train guys in in JE matchmaking. We coach guys as well. And awesome. There was this one guy who was like, I'm too much of a nice guy to actually get any dates. And I'm like, that is so stupid. Like, I'm already, my lady boner already disappeared, okay? And I didn't even I wasn't even attracted to you. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. So, yeah.
How do you define being nice? I'm curious. I'm curious how these nice guys define being nice.
I think, well, how he defined it and how he was. I think for him, being a nice guy just meant that he would, so women say, I want to be text all the time. Women say, I want to go out and do this stuff. Women say, I want to do this. But they need somebody with integrity. So yes, they want somebody to text all the time, but they actually quite enjoy it when there's unsureness of like, oh, well, what's he doing right now? I haven't heard from him in a couple. So it would be like over texting.
There's a little mystery.
There's a little mystery there. Yeah. So he'd be over texting. He'd be taking her out on the best dates. He'd be giving her all the compliments. He would be showering her with all the gifts. And, she's the most amazing woman. And she would be able to just walk all over him, and he would never say anything to basically be like, okay, he had no integrity. And there's nothing sexier than integrity for like, if you cross the line,
100%.
Like if you're on your phone, if a man says, listen, I took you out on a date. I actually want to have quality time right now. Could you put the phone away? You're like, fine. You're like, oh my gosh.
Throw me on the table.
Exactly. So I think it was more like that. The nice guy. Did you see the movie that was coming out? It's advertising all over TikTok.
No, what is that?
So the movie that's coming out is this gal pretends to be super drunk at a bar, and then all the nice guys come up and take care of her, but in fact they take her home, but she's pretending. And I don't know what happens. I think she murders them or something, but it's like a whole anti-nice guy movie.
I did not see that. Now I'm like dying to see it.
Yeah, I haven't seen the movie.
I'm gonna have to go on YouTube and like watch the trailer. That's crazy.
Yeah. That's exciting.
I love that premise.
I know. What a great idea. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's also, okay, so this is the last one of your TikToks. I devour them all. But this is the last one that's like my favorite. Girl, same.
Okay. Which one is that?
Is talking about people, how they always, what was it? I didn't have it written down and I regret it. They're wanting validation. No, they wanted closure. In a relationship. So yeah, tell us about that one.
Yeah. Okay. So I think a lot of people it's one of those things, everybody says this, I want closure. I just need closure. I just need closure. I just need closure. And I'm always telling people, I'm like, the only closure that you need is from within yourself. Mm-hmm. And when I say that, I mean like the best thing you can do for yourself after, a relationship dissolves is to like look back and say, okay, let me just take like an outside view, kind of like remove myself a little bit, take an objective look at what happened in that relationship to make it dissolve and see how I was culpable. Cool. And then people get real angry when they hear that because they're like, bitch, I did nothing in that relationship. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, so even let's say that you chose a narcissistic and you had that relationship and you did nothing wrong in that relationship, you still chose the narcissistic.
Yeah.
So you were culpable to a certain degree, even if it was your picker that was wrong.
Yeah.
There was some culpability there, right? Mm-hmm. And you're not going to fix the problem, like your picker being wrong, if you don't take culpability for that, if you don't take responsibility and accountability for the decision that you make. Mm-hmm. So for me, closure is always like a self-reflection thing and not a I need answers from you thing. And I think a lot of people struggle with that, mm-hmm. right? A lot of people struggle with that. Mm-hmm. And they say like, I just need to understand like what I did to upset him or why it didn't work. And I'm like, even if you ask them, first of all, you don't even know if they're going to tell you the truth, honey. Like, honestly, they could tell you whatever they could do lip service that you just don't know if they're going to even be honest with you. Mm-hmm. And to be honest, a lot of people aren't honest about what actually happened.
Yeah.
Oh, like how difficult is it to say to somebody that you were in a relationship for 5 years that I started getting emotionally involved with a girl at work?
Yeah.
And then I realized suddenly that if I was getting so involved with her, that maybe I wasn't so in love with you. Mm-hmm. Do you really think he would say that to you after you spent 5 years of your, you know what I mean? There's just so many question marks around that I feel like the only person you can control in this situation is yourself.
Yes.
And so the truth should come from within.
Yes. And that's a great idea of not repeating patterns like we said about narcissism as well. Yes, taking that time to self-reflect. Because you said in the video, you don't need that closure because that is a form of validation. And you're like, but you need to find that validation in yourself. I was like, I wonder what she means by that. But you just said what that means, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's it. I think they look for validation because they're like, okay, it must be like, I need that person to tell me what it was. You know what it was, honey. Yeah. Like really, if you just took 5 seconds to think about it, you know exactly what it was.
Yes.
And if anybody tells you that they don't know, they know, and they're just hurting so bad that they don't want to admit it to themselves.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've had those clients too, where you're like, I feel your pain and I get that you're not there yet. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it takes time.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it just takes time. Like you said, like we both had that similar experience of it took a good year to get over that narcissistic relationship. You need the time to heal.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That's okay too. But again, it shouldn't be coming from an exterior, like an exterior person or situation. It should come from within, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. Okay. I have one more question for you and then we're done.
Okay.
That was not enough time.
I know. I'm like, it went so quickly.
Well, we're going to evolve. So maybe this will be like a little like annual or something. We'll bring you back on.
Oh, that'd be great.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We'll do like a live when we're actually partying in Montreal when the COVID is over.
Wouldn't that be so much fun?
That would be fun.
Okay, we should do that. Okay. We'll plan it after this stupid pandemic.
After this stupid pandemic. Oh, you guys in lockdown, by the way?
Yeah, we are. Curfew and everything.
Oh. Mm-hmm. We're like tra-la-la. No. All our bars are open and stuff. We're just continuing our best life.
You're kidding.
No.
Do you guys not have any cases there? Like you guys are just...
We have like 30.
Oh my God. We have like 1,000 something per day.
We have 30 in total. We had 3 new cases today, or 3 new cases.
Oh my God. We're having like thousands a day. Like it's crazy.
We had 0 pretty much all summer. So
that's amazing.
We lived our best life in the summer. You poor thing on lockdown.
See, Halifax is where it's at, yo.
If only you knew, you could have stayed.
I told you, yeah. You guys are just great, see?
Yeah.
You put on your mask, you distance.
We do. We sanitize.
You washed your hands.
Yeah. We do all of it.
Exactly.
Okay, so last and final question. And I know this probably changes for you like pretty much every day because it changes for me every single day. What would be the number one piece of advice you would give women out there that would make dating for them easier?
You know what? First and foremost, it's mindset. It really is. Because you can have the best strategy in the world and the best tactics for finding and dating men. But if you can't keep them, and if you're not right within yourself, you're not going to keep them. So if that piece is lacking, it's over, honey. Like it just really is. Mm-hmm. So I'd say working on yourself first and foremost, building your self-esteem and your confidence. That's like critical. Mm-hmm. Critical.
I agree.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, that's so good. And that's pretty much like, yeah.
So there's like nothing that we disagree on. Pretty much, we've realized.
Gosh, we didn't disagree on a single thing.
I don't think
someday we can work towards that. We'll see.
Okay.
The minute I do a video that you disagree with, you need to stitch it and you need to rip me to pieces.
Okay, I'll do that.
Let's hold each other accountable, okay? Okay.
That sounds good. I like that.
So tell me how everybody can follow you. So tell me how they can find you, follow you, how they could, if they're interested in you and your online dating course and your coaching, tell them how they can get a hold of you.
The best way would probably be through TikTok, just to get a feel for me and my energy. And all of my links are in there. But my name is spelled so weird. So when I tell people my name, they're like, is it with a C or a K? And then I'm like, it's with a K. And then they're like, oh, okay, so INE at the end. I'm like, no. It's with a K and spelled differently. So I'm like, okay, let me get a paper. And actually, do you know what's funny? I was on a video podcast before, and I literally wrote it on a piece of paper and was like, not difficult, but it's Sally Catherine Love. And Catherine is spelled KATHRYN. It's really weird spelling. Mm-hmm. So shame on me for choosing
oh no, it's super unique
username.
Yeah. And I'll have it actually, everybody, if you want to go take a peek, I'm going to have it linked in the show notes too. So just head back, check out the show notes, click on her stuff. And I just say binge her entire channel because it's basically one big coaching session on a TikTok page. So just binge it.
And it's
just
pretty
go.
like Geneva.
Yeah.
It's pretty much like Geneva anyways.
I agree with everything. So it is Geneva approved.
Cool.
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored. I appreciate it.